You know, sometimes life just keeps hitting you, right? Like you're constantly dodging punches, just trying to stay on your feet. That was Dara's life. For 9 long years after university, she'd been sending out CVs, clicking on every job opening that even remotely fit her qualifications. 9 years! Can you imagine that kind of grind? The rejections, the silence, the slow chipping away at your hope. But then, one regular draining afternoon, her phone buzzed. An email. Congratulations, you've been invited for an interview. Her heart races. It's the first real opportunity in months. You should have seen her face. Pure, unadulterated joy. It was like the sun finally broke through years of clouds. She practically flew to her mother, Mama Dara, who was just as elated. Mama Dara had been carrying so much on her shoulders, praying for this moment, for her bright daughter to finally catch a break so they could, manage things together and lift some of that heavy burden. It felt like a miracle. Dara was buzzing. She spent that whole night prepping, going over potential questions, practicing her answers. Her mind racing with all the possibilities this job could unlock. Sleep? Who needed sleep when you had hope coursing through your veins? The next morning, the air was thick with expectation. Mama Dara, with her usual loving wisdom, wanted to say a prayer to bless her daughter's journey. But Dara, in her youthful eagerness, was just too focused on getting there early. "Later, Mama," she said with a hug. "We'll pray when I get back with good news." Oh, if only she knew. She hopped into a public transport, jostling with the morning crowd. At 6:55 a.m., her phone vibrated again. Another message. The interview was actually starting at 8 a.m. Great, she thought. Even more time to settle in. She got to the venue at 7:45 a.m., well ahead of schedule. The address led her down this strange, unusually quiet street, ending at a massive, imposing building. It had a towering fence, making it feel isolated, almost hidden. She took a deep breath, smoothing her dress, and knocked on the heavy gate. A moment later, the gate creaked open just enough for a hulking, fully built guy to peer out. He looked like he was carved out of rock. "Interview," she stated, trying to keep her voice steady. He just nodded, grunted something she couldn't quite catch, and let her in. As she stepped inside, a shiver traced down her spine. The air was different here, heavy, almost sinister. This wasn't any office she'd ever seen. Men were milling around, but they weren't in suits. They were rough, with hard faces and eyes that didn't smile. Her instincts screamed, but her mind, so focused on the job, struggled to catch up. One of them gestured for her to sit on a rickety chair in a dimly lit waiting area. As she sat, her heart started to pound a frantic rhythm against her ribs. This was wrong. So wrong. Before she could even properly form a question, a man approached, his face obscured by the dim light. "Your name?" he asked, his voice gravelly. Just as she opened her mouth to answer, another guy appeared from behind her like a phantom, and a rough black cloth was yanked over her head, plunging her into instant darkness. The world spun. Back home, miles away, Mama Dara was humming a happy tune, kneading dough for Dara's favorite meal. Her heart was light, filled with the warmth of a mother's hope. She pictured Dara walking through the door, beaming, with news of a new beginning. But in a quiet, dark room, miles away, Dara was tied tightly to a chair, the ropes biting into her skin. The blindfold pressed against her eyes, but she could still feel the tears streaming down her face, a silent river of terror. Her voice was hoarse, a desperate whisper, then a ragged sob. "Please, help me, please." But only the silence answered. In another part of the building, far from Dara's cries, the men were celebrating. More guys had arrived, filling the place with the smell of stale cigarettes and cheap liquor. It was a grim sort of party, a toast to their new catch. The boss, a menacing figure with eyes that missed nothing, was holding court. He just announced that Tiger, one of his most reliable guys, was getting another promotion, making him leader of their latest operation. It was Tiger's 8th time in a row being voted into a leadership role, and while some of the guys clapped, one man, Trouble stood there, his face a mask of bitter resentment. He felt overlooked, passed over. He believed he deserved that spot. From that moment, a dark seed of anger took root in Trouble's heart, aimed squarely at Tiger. It wasn't going to be good. The boss, seeing them all celebrating, gestured to a monitor showing a grainy CCTV feed of Dara tied to the chair. "Listen up," he barked. "Everyone watches our new victim closely, and whoever's on duty, do your job diligently." He had two guys, Stone and Rude, specifically assigned to monitor her every move. Later, the boss pulled Tiger and Trouble aside. His voice was low, laced with cold fury. "I'm not happy," he growled. "One victim? One? I wanted 14. You two need to do better, much better." Tiger's face remained neutral, but Trouble's eyes narrowed, a silent promise of future trouble. Tiger, ever the professional, went to clear out Dara's bag and documents. "Gotta keep things clean," he muttered, pulling out papers, ready to burn them. But as he opened a specific document, a picture stared back at him, a face and a name. It was so familiar, it stopped him cold. He scanned further down, seeing the name of his old school, the college they both attended. A jolt went through him. He quickly tore that page out, folded it, and slipped it into his pocket. His mind raced. Back at home, the afternoon bled into evening. Mama Dara's heart grew heavier with each passing minute. She called Dara's phone again and again, but it just rang, then went straight to voicemail. Battery must be low, she tried to tell herself, but the knot in her stomach tightened. It was getting late, too late for an interview. A cold dread began to creep in. That night, in his cramped room, Tiger pulled out the crumpled page. The picture of Dara, smiling, vibrant, stared back. He traced her name with a finger. The memories flooded back. The next day, Tiger returned to the building. He was supposed to be off, but something pulled him back. Just as he entered, Trouble stepped out of the shadows, a sneer on his face. "What are you doing here, Tiger? Your off day, isn't it?" Tiger just ignored him, walking straight past. He went to the surveillance room, where Stone and Rude were lazily eating, their eyes glued to the screen showing Dara. "Who's got the keys to her room?" Tiger asked, his voice calm. "Trouble," they chorused, not even looking up. Tiger found Trouble, leaning against a wall, cleaning his gun. "Keys," Tiger demanded, extending his hand. Trouble just smirked, shaking his head. "Nah, why you so interested, Tiger? Something up?" Tiger glared, but before he could press the issue, his phone rang. It was the boss. "Tiger, what are you doing there? You're supposed to be resting," the boss barked. "Just bored, boss," Tiger replied, forcing a casual tone. "Thought I'd come around." The boss grunted. "Go home, relax. You're on duty tomorrow."
Meanwhile, Mama Dara's worry had turned into panic. She spent the morning calling everyone she knew, relatives, neighbors, friends, anyone who might have seen Dara. Finally, desperate, she went to the police. They took her report, but their questions about Dara's exact whereabouts offered no comfort. Her heart was breaking. The next morning, Tiger returned, bringing a small plate of food for Dara. When he entered the room and removed her blindfold, her eyes slowly adjusted. He knelt before her, and as his face came into focus, Dara's eyes widened in disbelief. Meanwhile, in the surveillance room, two figures were sprawled in their office chairs. Stone and Rude, their eyes sharp and unblinking, were glued to the monitors. They are watching so intently while chewing their food. They were just doing their job, keeping an eye on the asset, not realizing what they were witnessing. And then he spoke, his voice low, filled with a raw emotion she hadn't heard in years. "Dara, it's Michael." Dara froze. Michael, her best friend from college, the one who she shared her meal with, the one who treated him like a family of her own, the one who was more like a brother than a friend. She couldn't believe it. This hardened man, this kidnapper, was Michael? To her, it felt like a dream, a cruel, impossible dream. From that very moment, Michael, Tiger, knew what he had to do. His best friend here, in this nightmare, he began to plan. Every breath he took, every glance around the room, every conversation with his crew, it was all part of a desperate, dangerous plan to get Dara out. The boss called Tiger, his voice sharper now. By now, her parents are in a panic. Time to hit them. 50 million naira, get it done, Tiger. 50 million. Michael felt sick. He couldn't make that call, not to Dara's mother, so he delegated. Trouble, make the call. Tell me what happens. Trouble, always looking for an opportunity to shine and undermine Tiger, saw his chance. He made the call, but instead of reporting back to Tiger, he went straight to the boss, giving him the feedback directly, and to Tiger he just shrugged, no answer. Mama Dara was at church, her knees worn from prayer, begging God to bring her daughter back. Her phone rang. A cold, flat voice demanded 5 million naira. Mama Dara could only stare at her phone, the words ringing in her ears. 5 million. She was in shock, unable to even speak. Later, the boss called a meeting demanding an update. Tiger, thinking he had the correct information from Trouble, quickly said, "Boss, they haven't answered yet." But Trouble, with a sly smirk, cut him off. "That's not true, boss," a woman answered, begging for mercy. She clearly couldn't pay. The boss's eyes, cold as ice, fixed on Tiger. "Don't play games, Tiger. Do your job or someone else will." Tiger seethed, glaring at Trouble, the animosity between them now a palpable thing. Michael knew time was running out. He had to act. He began to meticulously plan Dara's escape, looking at every nook and cranny of the building, every weak point in their security. He pictured the routes, the timings, the smallest details. He started putting things in place, little by little, praying his desperate plan would work. The boss's next words solidified his urgency. "If that mother can't pay, I'm selling the girl to the ritualists." He even made a call, talking to someone willing to buy. Michael's blood ran cold. He had no time to lose.
He waited for his next duty day. When he arrived, Trouble was there again, lounging about. "What are you doing here?" Michael asked, exasperated. "Boss said he doesn't trust you anymore, Tiger." Trouble sneered, "Said you needed help." Michael ignored him, his focus absolute. He got food for the 2 surveillance guys and for Dara. He laced the guards' food with a strong sleeping medicine. He carried the tray to Dara's room. He removed her blindfold, and her eyes wide with fear slowly cleared. He looked at her, his heart aching. "Dara," he whispered, his voice cracking. "It's Michael, your best friend from college. We have to go. Now." Dara stared, her mind struggling to process it. Michael, here, saving her? It felt like a dream, a hallucination. But his urgency was real. He guided her, her legs wobbly, through the dark corridors. They moved like shadows, pausing, listening, waiting for the coast to be clear. Just as they were about to slip out, Trouble, who had gone outside for a smoke, realized he'd forgotten his lighter. Annoyed, he went back inside and headed straight for the surveillance room. His eyes narrowed. Both guards were slumped over, deep in slumber, half-eaten food on the table. He scanned the screens. Dara was gone. Frantically, he switched through the CCTV channels. Then he saw it, a blurry image of Tiger and Dara slipping through a small hole in the back fence. His face twisted in a snarl. "Traitor!" he roared, grabbing his gun and dialing the boss. Outside, Michael had a car waiting, just around the corner. "Jump in, Dara!" he yelled, her vision still blurry, her body exhausted. She stumbled into the passenger seat as he floored the accelerator. The boss was already on the phone, screaming into it, mobilizing every mercenary in the area to track them down. Meanwhile, Trouble prepared for a chase. The box truck rumbled through the afternoon, a silent vessel of what felt like freedom. Dara slumped against Michael, exhausted, trying to process everything. Hope, fragile but real, began to bloom in her chest. They were safe, they were free. But then, after what felt like an eternity,
The truck slowed, not near Mama Dara's house, but back in that familiar quiet part of town, right outside a warehouse that looked eerily similar to the one they'd just escaped. Michael's heart hammered. He knew this place. It was another one of the boss's strongholds. The back door of the truck swung open, and instead of Mama Dara, they saw a group of men, heavily armed, led by the boss himself, a chilling smile spreading across his face. Well, 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 the boss purred, his eyes glinting. Looks like my friend here delivered you right back to me, Michael. You thought you could run. Dara's heart plummeted. Betrayal again. Michael stiffened, realizing the brutal truth. The truck driver, a stocky man with a grim expression, stood beside the boss, his face unreadable. Michael felt a cold fury, a crushing disappointment. Get them, the boss barked. Just as the men moved forward, ready to grab them, a blinding flash of blue and red lights erupted from around a corner, piercing the night. Sirens wailed, echoing through the quiet street. From every direction, police vans screeched to a halt, officers spilling out, weapons raised. The boss and his men froze, caught completely off guard. "Police!" someone screamed. Chaos erupted. The truck driver, in a swift, unexpected move, stepped forward, his grim face finally breaking into a relieved sigh. He looked directly at the boss, his voice ringing out, clear and steady amidst the sudden pandemonium. "You thought you could beat me and get away with 6 months of my pay, boss. You thought I'd work for you for a year for free and keep my mouth shut? See, here's the real twist, the deeper layer of the plot. This seemingly ordinary box truck driver had been caught by the police earlier, carrying a stash of illegal weapons for the boss. After hours of intense interrogation, pushed to the brink, and realizing he was facing serious time, he'd confessed everything. But the police, smart as they were, didn't just want him. They wanted the boss. They needed him caught red-handed in the very act to dismantle his entire operation. And the driver? He had his own powerful motivation. The boss hadn't paid him in 6 long months, and when he dared to ask for his money, the boss had him beaten and threatened to kill him if he even thought about running. So the driver, seeing an opportunity for revenge and his own freedom, became the unlikely bait. He'd agreed to bring Michael and Dara back, knowing it was the perfect trap to spring on the boss. The boss's face contorted in disbelief and rage, lunged at the driver, but it was too late. Officers swarmed the warehouse, guns drawn, shouting orders. The element of surprise was complete. Caught with their guard down, the gang was quickly overwhelmed. Michael, Dara, and even the truck driver found themselves amidst the chaos, quickly surrounded by armed police. The boss, still spitting curses, was wrestled to the ground and cuffed. The mercenaries, caught completely off guard, threw down their weapons and were swiftly arrested. Soon Trouble was arrested, and so was Stone and Rudy. Dara and Michael, stunned but safe, were quickly taken into custody by the police. Michael, despite his involvement with the gang, had his act of saving Dara and his cooperation with the authorities considered. He faced charges, yes, but also a path towards rehabilitation, a new chance at life away from the shadows he'd fallen into. The truck driver, too, faced his own legal battles for his prior actions, but had earned a significant reduction in his sentence for his crucial cooperation. The police handled the initial processing, and then, a few hours later, Dara was finally escorted home. The reunion with Mama Dara was a profound, soul-shaking moment. A cascade of joyful sobs, tight embraces, and whispered prayers filled their small home. It was a mother's nightmare ending, not just in the dawn of a new day, but with the undeniable assurance that the evil holding them captive had been brought down, and a long-awaited justice had been served. Life wasn't suddenly perfect, The country was still hard. But now, the biggest shadow had been lifted. Dara, too, was different. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a witness, a testament to unexpected kindness, an unyielding spirit, and the complex ways justice could find its way. She understood that even in the bleakest landscapes, the human heart could still choose goodness, and that sometimes redemption comes from the most unlikely places, through the most complicated paths. Her journey had forged her, made her wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. Her normal was now a mosaic of gratitude, resilience, and a profound understanding of the intricate tapestry of humanity, where even a seemingly simple delivery could hide a monumental twist of fate. And while the road ahead for Michael and the truck driver would be long, for Dara and her mother, a true promise of morning had finally arrived.
If you're getting value from these stories, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. Let's grow this together. Thank you.